it's time for another 2022 Nebraska football opponent preview. This time we're talking about the Purdue Boilermakers. I'm John Johnston, Corn Nation. Please subscribe to my channel because football season's almost here and we will have fun together. I promise. Might be a lot of weeping, but we'll have fun. Purdue. Let's take a look at Purdue. Nebraska meets Purdue at October 15th at Purdue. Time to be determined yet where it fits in on all the TV channels. But Purdue overall has one unclaimed national title in 1931. They kind of list another one. Maybe two unclaimed national titles. They were 9-0 in 1945. So I guess when you're undefeated, you just go out and kind of claim a national title. Alabama has 738 of those. They have 8 total Big Ten titles, the last one in the year 2000. They've been to 20 bowl games over the course of their school history. They have an 11-9 record in bowl games. They've been ranked 16 times in the final AP poll, 237 weeks total. When I think of Purdue, I think of Joe Tiller. He coached there from 1997 to 2008. He brought the spread offense to the Big Ten, and it was like blasphemy, and it was fun to watch. That was great football. They had some good teams, and they were fun, and that's the key to this preview, I guess, is fun, because Joe Tiller's offense was whiz-bang and scored a lot, and you never knew what was going to happen. He came to Purdue. They had 2 winning seasons in the previous 18 years. He took them to 10 bowl games in 12 years, which is, pretty good for Purdue, and it was pretty exciting. They played in the 2000 Rose Bowl, and probably their most famous guy is Drew Brees. You should all know that name if you pay any attention to football whatsoever. Jeff Brom is their current coach. He is in his 6th season with a 28-29 overall record. 2019-2020, he went 6-12 over those 2 seasons, and things looked like, things are abysmal, and it's Purdue football, or Purdue don't, as the common joke is about football in Purdue. But in 2021, last year, they had a 9-4 season, and they beat Tennessee 48-45 in overtime in the Music City Bowl. So it was a good season for them. Now we roll into 2022. What's going to happen? Well, they're missing some really key players. I mean, the names Rondale Moore, David Bell, and George Karlaftis should come to mind when you're thinking about Purdue football recently under Jeff Brom. George Karlaftis has gone to the NFL as is David Bell, and can they replace those guys? Because those were tremendous players and produced a lot, and that's really what it comes down to when you're going to have a good season, is who's going to do the production, who's going to do the tackling, who's going to do the receiving, and who's going to do the scoring, all those things. Purdue has a decent returning cornerback, Aidan O'Connell. Last year, he completed 72% of his passes, 3,712 yards, 28 TDs, and 11 interception, which is a decent ratio. It's not great, but it's pretty good. Those are pretty good numbers. Jack Plummer transferred, I don't care where, and they have another incoming freshman, Brady Allen, that might see some playing time, but Aidan O'Connell is the guy, and he looks like a pretty capable guy at quarterback. I normally do the running backs next, and we're going to do that. But even though Purdue has been they've been last in the Big Ten in rushing the last 3 years. And I don't think they rush to just kind of go, ha, we fooled you, They rush judiciously. So they have King Drew coming back, 533 yards, 2 touchdowns. They have an Indiana transfer, Samson Jones, coming in at running back. But we want to hear about their wide receivers because that's where the production comes from. They had, David Bell, NFL-type receiver, incredible guy. Milton Wright was supposed to be the guy that took over for him, but he is gone now due to academic issues. Brock Thompson looks like the guy that might set up and provide a lot of production coming in to this season. He had 30 passes for 457 yards and 4 TDs last year. In the bowl game when David Bell sat out because he had declared for the NFL draft, Brock Thompson had 7 receptions for 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. Purdue also brought in a pair of transfers from Iowa, Charlie Jones and Tyrone Tracy. And then they also have tight end Payne Durham coming back, 45 receptions, 467 yards, 4 touchdowns. Offensive line, they had 3 starters returning. I'm not going to go through their names. They have a mix of some experience, some youth, a transfer, I think. But by the time Nebraska rolls around on October 15th, I mean, they should be coming together. We'll know a lot more about their offensive line, but I'd expect it to be decent. I don't think they're going to have any top-of-the-line NFL-type guys on their line, but decent. Okay, defense, they have 7 starters returning. And they got rid of Bob Diaco. That was one thing I just looked at him and what the hell are you doing hiring that guy? I think he called himself Robert Diaco when he was there because he wanted to get rid of the name Bob because everybody's like, Bob Diaco sucks. Well, Robert Diaco sucked too. But he's gone. 7 starters return. Biggest key there is George Karlaftis has gone to the NFL. That first-round draft pick. That guy was tremendous. Who is going to replace him on the defensive line in the defensive front 7? Well, his little brother is there on the defensive line. Yanni Karlaftis? That's kind of a different name. Defensive tackle Branson Dean was all Big Ten honorable mention last season. They look like they have a decent linebacking core with Jalen Graham, their strong side linebacker, was honorable mention all Big Ten last year. Kareem Douglas comes back with 67 tackles. They have some experience in their linebacking core. The defensive secondary, Cam Allen, 65 tackles and 4 interceptions, probably the leading guy there. Corey Trice missed last season, but he started the previous couple seasons as a cover corner. He's back. Jamari Brown, 32 tackles and 7 pass breakups. And then they bring in an Indiana transfer, Reese Taylor, who had 25 tackles last season. What they rated the Big Ten for their transfers? That's kind of weird. Okay, let's look at Purdue overall. What do we think about Purdue? Well, one of the key things is they don't play Ohio State or Michigan this season. So that right there is already like saying, okay, well, they avoid 2 losses. I like Jeff Brom. I think he's a fun coach in the vein of Joe Tiller. I think if they can capture some of that stuff, you know, he's there 6th season, so he's lasted a while. He's been decent for them. I don't think they're going to have a 9-4 season like they did last year because it was a pretty good season for them. They have to replace a lot of production and a lot of talent. I don't think they're going to win the Big Ten West. I think they'll probably be in an 7 or 8 win situation. I think they'll be decent. I have to point out that Scott Frost is 0-3 against Purdue. We can't really call them Purdue when we don't either. And that's kind of the surprising thing about the difference between these 2 programs is Purdue is a team that Nebraska needs to beat if we're going to really be contending for the Big Ten West, and that's where we want to be. Is Purdue beatable this year? You know, so much of that stuff depends on how much comes together for both teams, and they're both have a lot of games under their belt by the time they get together. We'll know more then. I have yet to do a real prediction on YouTube, so we'll see what happens if I can get my shit together in the next week or so, get all these opponent previews done. Like I said, please subscribe to my channel. I'm John Johnston, Corn Nation. Thank you for watching, and go Big Red.